I had 3 rules after my last relationship almost destroyed me. Never trust a man who smiles too easily. Never let anyone know where I keep my money. And never ever fall in love again. I broke all 3 in 6 weeks. And the worst part? I'd do it again. My name is Teniola, and the day I ran from everything I knew, the sky looked like someone had scraped all the color out of it. I stepped off the bus into Havenbrook wearing the same brown hoodie I'd worn since the night everything collapsed. It was baggy, shapeless, a perfect shield. I kept my hair in a messy knot, hid my face behind the hood, and carried nothing but a backpack and the stubborn belief that disappearing was the only way to survive. Nobody would ever look at me and think Target again. That was the plan. My mother told me not to go. She'd sent me 3 long messages the night before, half worry, half frustration. Please don't shut people out. You're not alone. Call me when you settle. I still hadn't replied. I didn't know what to say. The Havenbrook Community Center was the first place I saw that didn't make me want to turn around and leave. A hand-painted sign over the door read, "We grow together." It was crooked, and the paint was chipped, but something about it felt warm. Inside, volunteers bustled around. Kids laughed somewhere behind a stack of cardboard boxes. The place smelled like paper, detergent, and hope that was doing its best. "Hey there!" A bright voice cut through my thoughts. A slim woman with curly hair and a pineapple puff walked toward me, smiling like she'd already adopted me. "You knew?" I nodded. "If you need volunteers, I can help." "Perfect," she said, thrusting a clipboard into my hand. "I'm Mira. Everyone here's basically family, so don't be shy." Family. The word tasted foreign. Before I could reply, someone walked past us, carrying a box of donated books. He moved quietly, almost too quietly for someone his size. He wore a black cap and thin glasses, even indoors, and an old gray t-shirt with a small tear near the shoulder. He didn't look like a volunteer. You could always tell the seasoned ones by the way they lifted boxes like furniture, but he carried that stack like it weighed nothing. Mira noticed my glance and grinned. "That's Lee. He's here a lot. Quiet type. Kind of intense when he's focused." As if hearing his name, he turned, and our eyes met. I felt it first in my stomach. A tiny pull I immediately pushed down. His eyes were steady, warm in a way I didn't trust. He gave a small nod, almost shy. Then he looked away. Good. The less attention, the better. Mira clapped her hands once. "Come on, I'll show you around." I followed her through the center, pretending not to check for him again. But I saw him, occasionally, sorting canned food, fixing a wobbly table leg, helping a kid tie his shoelaces. Always quiet, always watching the room like he was trying to memorize it, and once, just once, I caught him watching me. A quick glance, an unreadable expression, then gone. I pretended not to notice. By the 3rd day, volunteering started feeling like breathing again. It gave my days shape. It kept my mind from wandering back to the man who'd ripped my life apart. I told almost no one about him except my mother, and even she didn't know everything. But the past never really leaves you. It waits, quiet, patient, cruel in the unspoken parts of your mind. On the morning of my 4th shift, I found Lee fixing the hinge on a storage cabinet. He wore the same cap, same glasses, same old t-shirt like he was trying not to stand out. He didn't notice me at first, so I cleared my throat. "Do you need help?" He startled slightly, then cleared his throat too. No, just trying to keep this thing from falling apart." I nodded and reached for a box beside him. As I lifted it, he spoke again, softly, almost unsure. "You're settling in." It wasn't a question. "I'm trying," I said. "Good." He tightened a screw. We need more people like you. Like me. He said it like he meant it, and I didn't know what to do with that. I suddenly became hyper-aware of how close we were standing, close enough that I could hear the faintest breath he released when he focused on the screw, close enough that I could smell something warm on him. Soap, maybe, or coffee. Too close. I stepped back, bumping into a shelf. He stood quickly, concern flickering in his eyes. You okay? He asked. Fine, I replied quickly. Just misjudged my step. His lips twitched like he almost smiled but held it back. Mira passed by at that exact moment, arms full of towels. She eyed us with a grin. Look at you two bonding. I knew it would happen eventually. I blinked. We're not bonding. Sure, Mira said. And I'm not behind on laundry. Lee coughed into his hand. I have to finish this cabinet. And he disappeared into the next aisle like someone had set his shirt on fire. Mira nudged me. He likes you. No, he doesn't. He's just polite. Right. She raised a brow. Because polite men stare at you like you're a TED Talk they don't want to end. I glared at her, heat rising to my cheeks. Stop, seriously. Mira laughed. Relax, hoodie girl. You're safe. He's a good guy. Weirdly quiet, but good. I didn't tell her that quiet was exactly how my scammer started, too. Soft voice, gentle tone, slow patience. Just enough kindness to feel safe. Until it wasn't. That afternoon, while sorting donations, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Saw you today. Hoodie looks familiar. We should talk. My chest tightened like someone had grabbed it with cold hands. It had been months since he'd last tried to contact me. Months since I blocked 5 different numbers he used. Months since I convinced myself he'd moved on. But the past did not move on. It hunted. I deleted the message immediately, shoved my phone deep into my pocket, and kept working. But something in me shifted. A small tremor in a foundation I'd just begun rebuilding, and when I passed Lee across the room and he gave me the quiet nod he always gave me, I couldn't help wondering if letting anyone close again was the biggest mistake I could make. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, the message replayed. Saw you today. Hoodie looks familiar. We should talk. It crawled into my chest like a cold shadow, reminding me that no matter how far I ran, he knew how to reach me. By morning, I looked like I hadn't slept in a year, but I still went to the community center. I needed the noise, the movement, something to drown out the echo of the past. Mira spotted me right away. Whoa, zombie chic. You good? I tugged on my hoodie. Didn't sleep well. She nudged my shoulder. You know you can talk to me, right? I forced a smile. Later, maybe. She examined me like she wanted to press the issue, but kids were already calling her name. As I headed toward the donation shelves, Lee stepped out from behind a stack of boxes. He pushed up his glasses and looked at me carefully. You okay? I stiffened. I hated how easily he saw things. I'm fine, I said instantly. His brow lifted slightly. You don't look fine. Maybe I didn't sleep well. Nightmares? He asked gently. He wasn't prying, just offering a place to put the fear. But I shook my head. Just life. Something in his expression softened. If you want space, I'll give you space. But if you need someone to talk to, I'm around. I opened my mouth, intending to brush it off, but the sincerity in his voice unsettled me. Not because it scared me, but because it felt safe. Too safe. I should work, I muttered. He nodded once and stepped aside, but as I passed him, he caught something on my sleeve. Hold still, he murmured. Before I could react, he brushed his thumb across my arm, lifting a piece of lint. The touch was so small, so gentle, it felt like a spark down my spine. I froze. He froze. For a moment, the entire hallway felt suspended. Then he pulled back abruptly, clearing his throat. Sorry, that was unplanned. I swallowed and stepped away fast. It's fine. But nothing about that moment felt fine. It felt dangerous in a different way. Not like my scammer, not like fear, like possibility. And that scared me more. Around lunchtime, I entered the break room to grab a water and nearly dropped it when I heard someone say, "Hey, Tenny." I turned to see a new volunteer, tall, clean-cut, too polished for a community center shift. "Isaac," he said, offering a grin that was 70% charm, 30% toothpaste commercial. "You helped me last week with sorting blankets, remember?" Barely, but I nodded. "Anyway, yeah, hi. You're here every day?" he asked, leaning on the counter. "Most days." "That's dedication. I like that." My shoulders tensed. Compliments from strangers still hit the wrong nerves. Before I could reply, someone entered behind me. Lee. He paused, immediately reading the room. His expression didn't change much, but his jaw tightened. Just slightly. Isaac noticed him too. "Hey man, I'm Isaac, new volunteer." Lee gave a simple nod. "Lee." "Right," Isaac said. "You do storage, yeah? Cool." Lee's eyes flicked to me. "Everything okay here?" "Yeah," I said quickly, but for the first time I wondered if he didn't believe me. A flicker of something, jealousy, protectiveness, appeared in his gaze. Isaac continued, oblivious. "So, Tenny, I was thinking maybe we could grab coffee sometime. You know, since we work together." I froze. Lee didn't. He stepped forward, not aggressively, not possessively, but with a quiet confidence that startled both of us. "She doesn't like coffee," he said calmly. I blinked. Isaac blinked. Lee continued, voice steady. "The smell gives her headaches." Then he turned to me. "Right?" I stared at him. He remembered something I'd said casually 2 days ago while sorting books. Something so small even I forgot saying it. Isaac raised his hands. "My mistake. Didn't mean anything by it." "It's fine," I said, forcing a smile. He walked out, and the room fell quiet. I turned to Lee. "You didn't have to do that." He exhaled slowly. "I know." "It made it weird." "I know." "Why did you say that?" He hesitated. Then he said quietly, "Because you looked uncomfortable. And I don't want anyone putting you in a position you don't want to be in." My breath caught. It wasn't jealousy or possessiveness or entitlement. It was protection, gentle, respectful protection. And it disarmed me. I opened my mouth to respond, but an alert buzzed on my phone. My heart jumped, expecting another message from him. But it wasn't the scammer this time. It was from my cousin Amara. "Hey, stranger, haven't heard from you. Mom says you moved. Call me." A wave of guilt washed over me. I'd shut everyone out. I'd been trying to survive so hard I forgot to live. "You okay?" Lee asked softly. I cleared my throat. "Just family." Good family or toxic family? A laugh escaped before I could stop it. "Good. Surprisingly good." "Call them," he said. "People need people." I studied him. "Do you have people?" He froze. That was the wrong question. Or maybe the right one. After a moment, he said, "Not really." The way he said it told me everything. He wasn't just lonely. He was isolated by choice and regret. I softened. "Why not?" He stared at the floor. I've spent a long time building walls I don't know how to take down. I didn't mean to say it, but the words slipped out. Same. He looked at me, really looked, and for a second it felt like we were standing in the same unspoken ache. He broke the tension with a quiet, almost teasing murmur. So, no coffee dates with Isaac? I snorted. Absolutely not. A trace of a smile touched his lips, a small victory he didn't comment on. But I noticed. Everything about him was subtle, understated, quietly reaching toward me without ever pulling. It made me painfully aware of something. I was beginning to reach back. I stayed after my shift ended, wiping down tables while he organized books across the room. The center was quieter at night, soft fluorescent hum, occasional footsteps, distant laughter from a late sports practice down the hall. When I left, he walked outside with me. Not imposing, not assuming, just matching my pace. The air was cool, the sky deep blue. Street lamps glowed like lanterns. "Thanks for today," he said, "for not disappearing." "You noticed," I murmured. "I always notice when you're gone." My heart stumbled over that sentence. I should have stepped away. I should have changed the subject. I should have remembered all 3 rules. Instead, I stopped walking. So did he. We stood facing each other on the quiet street, shadows touching before our hands did. "Lee," I whispered. He waited. He always waited. For permission, for clarity, for me. But before I could finish, a group of teenagers jogged past us loudly, breaking the moment like glass. He stepped back instantly. Too respectful, too careful. "I should let you go," he said softly. I nodded, suddenly cold. But as I climbed the steps to my building, he called after me. "Tenny." I turned. His voice was gentle, vulnerable in a way I'd never heard. "I'm glad you're here." I didn't answer. I couldn't, because for the first time in a long time, I felt it too. The next week unfolded in a way I didn't expect. Every morning I woke up telling myself I wasn't going to think about Lee. And every morning I failed spectacularly. It didn't help that he kept doing little things that made it impossible not to notice him, like fixing the broken reading lamp before anyone arrived, or leaving extra gloves in the supply closet after I mentioned my hands got cold, or standing just close enough that I felt his presence without feeling crowded. Subtle, quiet, impossible to ignore. But I wasn't the only one noticing things, because Isaac was still around too. He had appointed himself as Havenbrook's unofficial tour guide, comedian, and, apparently, my new social experiment. "Hey, hoodie girl," he said as I entered one afternoon. "Want some hot chocolate? They're giving it away in the lobby." I blinked. Why? Some guy donated like 50 boxes. It's basically a sugar crime scene. Mira passed by and muttered under her breath, "You could just admit you donated it." Isaac shrugged proudly. "I might have. Who's asking?" I rolled my eyes but couldn't suppress a smile. He was harmless, if not a little clueless. Lee entered behind him, carrying a crate of donations. His eyes flicked to Isaac, then to me. Isaac noticed. "Hey, Lee," he called cheerfully. "I was just offering Tenny some hot chocolate. You want some too?" Lee set down the crate a little too quickly. "I'm good." He walked away before Isaac could say anything else. "Is he always like that?" Isaac asked. Mira gave him a look. "Like what?" "I don't know," Isaac pointed vaguely. "Silent, judgy, brooding, like a librarian who wants to confiscate your soul for being too loud." Mira burst into loud laughter. "Oh, I like you." I shook my head, fighting a laugh of my own. "He's just quiet." Isaac grinned. "Well, I'm practicing my extrovert powers on you until you stop hiding behind that hoodie." I tugged it instinctively. "I'm not hiding." He raised a brow. Right. And I don't have great hair. His hair was annoyingly perfect. See? He said smugly. We all lie to ourselves. I walked off before I accidentally laughed too much. But as I walked, I felt a pair of eyes on me. Lee's. He was standing by the storage shelves, pretending to organize something that did not need organization. He looked annoyed. Well, not annoyed. More like something sharp, something restrained, something that made my stomach twist. Jealousy? No, that couldn't be right. Could it? Later, while sorting children's coats, I caught Lee watching me again. This time he didn't look away. You and Isaac seem to get along, he said casually, too casually. I blinked. He's just friendly. Lee nodded slowly. He's definitely that. Are you okay? I asked. He nodded again, but not convincingly. Fine, just making conversation. You don't usually make conversation. He hesitated. I'm trying something new. I tilted my head. Something new like talking to me? He swallowed. Something like that. A warmth spread through my chest. But before I could think too hard about it, Mira called from across the room. Tenny, hoodies, I need you. You have hoodie energy. I sighed. I don't know what that means. It means you're mysterious, Mira shouted. The hood gives you superpowers. Lee chuckled under his breath. She's not wrong. Don't encourage her, I muttered. But I was smiling. And so was he. On Thursday, everything shifted. I was shelving books in the quiet reading corner when Lee approached with a stack of returns. He placed them beside me, close enough that our shoulders nearly touched. Can I ask you something? He said quietly. Sure. Why do you hide under the hoodie? I froze. He immediately backtracked. Sorry, that came out wrong. I just meant you're always covering yourself, even indoors. I tightened the hood, unconsciously. It makes me feel safe. From what? I didn't answer. Instead, I stepped onto a small stool to reach the top shelf, stubbornly because I didn't need help, and certainly not from him. But halfway up, my foot slipped. Before gravity could punish me for my pride, Lee caught my arm, pulling me toward him in one swift, instinctive motion. His hands were strong but gentle, gripping just enough to steady me. My breath hitched. We were close, too close. His cap brim brushed mine. Our noses were inches apart. His breath warmed my cheek. Tenny, he whispered, voice low. Careful. I swallowed hard. I'm fine. You're shaking. No, but I was. He didn't let go immediately. He held my waist just long enough to make sure I was steady, then released me slowly, reluctantly. The room felt smaller, quieter, charged. Thank you, I whispered. You don't need to thank me, he said softly. I'm not letting you fall. Something inside me trembled at that, something old, fragile, hopeful. He stepped back but didn't look away, and that was the moment I felt it. The shift, the undeniable pull. He felt it too, but just before the moment could bloom into something more, a phone buzzed loudly. Not mine, his. He glanced at the screen, and I caught the name by accident. Evan, work. Lee's expression changed. Not panic, not guilt, but stress. Real, heavy stress. He excused himself quickly. Give me a minute. I watched him walk outside to take the call, pacing the sidewalk, running a hand through his hair in frustration. It was the first time I'd seen him lose composure, the first crack in his calm exterior, and something about it scared me. Not because of him, but because of the truth I'd been avoiding. He was not the simple, quiet volunteer he pretended to be. There was more, much more. And for the first time since we met, I wasn't sure I was ready to uncover it. That night I texted my cousin Amara for the first time in weeks. "Hey, I'm okay, just figuring things out," she replied instantly. "About time. Call me tomorrow or I'll drive there myself." I smiled. Maybe I wasn't as alone as I kept telling myself, but when I checked my messages again before bed, my stomach turned to ice. Another unknown number, another message. "Saw you laughing today. Thought you didn't trust people anymore. Miss me?" My breath caught. He was here, somewhere in this city, watching. And suddenly, all the warmth Lee had brought into my life felt fragile again. Breakable. Like one wrong move would shatter everything. I didn't tell anyone about the second message, not Mira, not my mother, not even Amara, though she kept texting me heart emojis like she was trying to pull me home through the phone. I especially didn't tell Lee, because the moment he found out someone was watching me, he'd stop being quiet and careful. He'd turn into something else, something protective and intense that I wasn't sure I was ready for. But the fear was real. It followed me to sleep. It curled up beside me when I woke. It walked beside me down Havenbrook streets. The next day at the center, I tried to act normal. Smile at kids, sort books, avoid Isaac's attempts at accidental flirting. I managed almost 2 hours before Mira cornered me by the supply closet. "You're jumpy," she said bluntly. "I'm not. You flinched when the dryer turned on. It was loud. Tenny, you're acting like someone who saw a ghost and is pretending it's a cat." I blinked. "What?" "I don't know," Mira said. "It sounded better in my head." A small laugh escaped me despite myself. Mira softened. "Seriously, though, are you okay?" I hesitated, pulling the hoodie string tighter. "I'm managing." Mira sighed. "That's your favorite lie." Before she could push more, someone called her from across the room. She gave me one more look, half suspicion, half concern, then jogged away. I exhaled shakily. Maybe I was jumpy. Maybe the messages had drilled back into that old, raw place inside me, the place that never fully healed. Or maybe it wasn't the messages alone. Maybe it was everything happening at once. Lee's attention, Isaac's interest, the mess of feelings I didn't know how to sort, especially Lee. Because when he walked into the room holding 2 cups of tea, one he silently handed to me before taking a sip of his own, I felt something shift inside my chest. "You look tired," he said gently. "I didn't sleep well." "Nightmares?" "No, just thoughts." He nodded like he understood that too well. "Want to talk about it?" "No." "Okay." He didn't push. He never pushed. He waited, like he always did. And maybe that was the most dangerous part of him. Later that afternoon, I stepped outside for air. The sky had darkened with thick gray clouds, but the cool breeze felt grounding. I texted Amara back. "Call you tonight. Promise." Immediately, she replied, "Good. I miss your annoying face." I smiled and put my phone away. Then I heard it. Footsteps behind me, slow, deliberate. My pulse spiked. I turned quickly, too quickly, ready to see the past walking toward me. Instead, I saw Isaac holding a cardboard box. "Whoa," he said, nearly juggling the box. "You okay there?" I exhaled shakily. "Yeah, sorry. Thought you were someone else." "Someone dangerous?" he asked lightly. I forced a smile. "No, just startled." He nodded slowly. "You sure? Because you look tense?" I offered. I was going to say like you're plotting a murder, but tense works. I huffed a small laugh. He set the box down. Seriously, though, if someone's bothering you, I'm fine, I said quickly. His brows lifted. Okay, but, you can actually talk to people here, right? I shrugged. He hesitated, then reached into the box and handed me a granola bar. Here, eat something. It's my peace offering for being too charming. You're not. Let me pretend. I laughed despite myself. Then through the glass door behind him, I saw a familiar figure watching us. Lee, standing by the shelf with unreadable eyes. He wasn't glaring. He wasn't angry. But something flickered across his face. Something tense. Something careful. Something he tried to mask but failed. Jealous. He was jealous. Isaac followed my gaze and spotted him too. Ooh, he murmured under his breath. Silent, brooding dude is staring at us again. He's not. He totally is, Isaac said. Honestly, it's impressive. I've never met someone who can frown politely. I narrowed my eyes at him. Stop, he smirked. Fine, but I'm just saying, if you're not into him, you should let him down easy. I'm not into... Girl, Isaac interrupted. My grandma can see he's into you. I rolled my eyes, but heat crawled up my neck. I need to get back inside, I said quickly. Before I could escape, Isaac added, if he doesn't make a move soon, I will. I froze. He winked. I tried to laugh it off, but my stomach twisted, because suddenly this quiet thing between Lee and me didn't feel quiet anymore. It felt fragile and real. When I returned inside, Lee was stacking books with a little too much focus. You left suddenly, he said without looking up. I was getting air. That long? I blinked at his tone, soft but edged. Are you upset? I asked carefully. He paused, closed the book in his hand slowly, then looked at me. I don't get upset, he said. That sounds like a lie. Okay, he said. Maybe I do. A little. I tightened my hoodie. Why? He hesitated, then he spoke quietly, too honest, too raw. Because I don't like watching other men flirt with you. My heart stopped. He continued, voice low and steady. And I don't like pretending it doesn't bother me. I stepped back slightly, overwhelmed. Lee, I know, he said quickly. You didn't ask for that. You didn't do anything wrong. That's not... And I'm not trying to control you, he added. You can talk to anyone you want. I stared at him, breath unsteady. He exhaled, softer now. I just don't want to lose whatever this is. The ache in my chest deepened. This? I echoed. He nodded gently. Yeah, this. We stood facing each other in the quiet corner of the center. Me clutching my sleeves, him clutching a truth he'd been holding back for days. I opened my mouth to respond. Then my phone buzzed again. I didn't want to look. I didn't want to know. But I did. Saw you laughing again. Old, you never laughed this much. The world blurred. Tenny? Lee asked, noticing my face drain of all color. What's wrong? I closed my eyes, because I wasn't sure I could hide it anymore. Not the fear, not the message, not the past clawing its way back into my present, and definitely not the growing realization that the person I wanted to run to was standing right in front of me. Lee stepped closer, but not too close, just enough to make it clear he'd noticed something was wrong. Tenny, he said softly, what happened? I swallowed hard, gripping my phone so tightly the edges cut into my palm. It's nothing. His brows lifted slightly. I don't believe that. I'm fine. You're shaking, he said gently. I looked down. He was right. My hands trembled so hard the screen flickered. Lee took a slow breath, grounding himself before he spoke again. Can I see the message? I stiffened instantly. No. He didn't back off, but he didn't push either. Okay, he murmured. Will you tell me what it said? No, I whispered. His eyes softened with something like pain. Are you scared? My throat tightened. He reached out, then stopped his hand in midair, hovering, waiting. Can I sit with you? He asked quietly. Just sit. Nothing else. I hesitated, then nodded, barely. We moved to the bench by the unused reading corner where the hum of the vents muffled the noise of the rest of the center. He sat beside me with careful distance, close enough to offer comfort, far enough to breathe. After a long silence, he spoke again. You don't have to tell me anything, he said, but don't pretend you're not hurting. I closed my eyes, battling the scream trapped in my chest. He waited and waited, and somehow that made the truth push its way out. It's someone from before, I finally whispered. Lee's jaw clenched. Someone who hurt you? My eyes stung. Yes. And he's messaging you now? A shaky breath left me. Yes. Lee exhaled slowly, so slowly I knew he was containing something deeper, darker. Something in him wanted to explode, but he wouldn't let himself. Not in front of me. He ran a hand through his hair. Tenny, that's not nothing. It doesn't matter, I cut in quickly. I'm not going back. I'm not letting him near me. But he's already near, Lee whispered. He's already in your head. That's not safe. The word safe cracked something inside me. He doesn't know where I live, I said. He just sends messages. Just? Lee repeated, voice tightening. Tenny, this isn't normal. This isn't okay. I pulled my hoodie tighter. I don't want to make it a big deal. A man stalked you, Lee said quietly. It is a big deal. My breath shuddered. He'd said the one word I'd been avoiding, stalked. Lee noticed the tears forming in my eyes and softened instantly. Hey, he murmured, leaning forward a little. I'm not trying to scare you. It already scares me, I whispered. His fingers twitched, like he wanted to reach for me but held himself back. Let me help, he said softly. Please. My chest tightened painfully. I don't want to be someone you help, I whispered. I want... The rest of the sentence got stuck in my throat. What I wanted was connection. I wanted closeness. I wanted him. But wanting made me vulnerable, and vulnerable made me a target, and I never wanted to be that again. He tilted his head slightly. What do you want? You. I almost said it. Instead, I forced out the lie I knew was safer. I want this to stop. He didn't believe me. He saw too much. Always had. But he nodded, and his voice dropped to a low, steady promise. Then I'll help you stop it. My breath caught. No, I don't want you involved. I'm already involved, he said. I care about you. My heart stuttered. Of all the things he could have said, that was the one I wasn't prepared for. Don't, I whispered. Why not? Because you don't know me. I know enough, he said quietly, and I want to know more. My pulse thundered in my ears. This was too much, too close, too true. I stood abruptly. I need to work. I'll see you later. Tenny, but I walked away before he could finish, because every part of me wanted to stay, wanted to collapse into the safety of his voice, wanted to admit that his presence steadied something inside me I thought was permanently broken, but the past was rising, and closeness had a cost I wasn't sure I could pay. Later that day I found myself searching Lee without meaning to, glancing down hallways for him, listening for his voice, waiting for his footsteps. He'd given me space, too much space. I didn't like the emptiness it left. Around closing time, I saw him in the supply closet, rearranging bins with meticulous precision, his version of stress cleanup. His cap was pushed back, hair slightly messy, like he'd been raking his hands through it. His shoulders were tense. He didn't notice me right away. I stepped into the doorway. "Lee?" He turned quickly, as if startled out of deep thought. "Tenny," he said softly. "You okay?" "No," I admitted, "but I don't want to be alone with it." His expression shifted instantly, something warm, relieved, grateful. "Come in," he said gently. I stepped closer. He didn't reach for me, didn't try to touch me, but he didn't hide the emotion on his face either. "What are you thinking?" I asked. He hesitated, then said, "I'm trying very hard not to overstep." "What does overstep mean to you?" He met my eyes, slow, hesitant, intense. "It means wanting to protect you more than you want to be protected." My breath caught. "I don't want to be protected," I whispered. "But I don't want to be alone either." Lee's jaw loosened, shoulders softened. He stepped closer, not touching, just near. "Teniola," he murmured, voice steady but thick with feeling. "I'm here, whenever you want me to be." A tremor ran through me, fear and attraction tangled so tightly I couldn't separate them. "Lee," my voice broke. He leaned slightly closer, his breath warm against my forehead. For a moment, the world went very quiet. He lifted a hand, slowly, painfully slow, giving me every chance to stop him. When I didn't, he brushed a loose strand of hair from my cheek. It wasn't a kiss, it wasn't even an embrace, but it felt more intimate than anything I'd allowed in years. My eyes fluttered shut. His voice dropped to a whisper. "You're not alone anymore." I opened my eyes, and in that moment, something inside me unclenched. Something that had been locked tight since the day everything fell apart. But just as the moment deepened, footsteps sounded in the hallway. Isaac's voice echoed. "Hey, Tenny, you still in here? Wanted to ask if—" I jerked back. Lee's jaw tightened. The moment shattered. Isaac appeared at the doorway, smiling obliviously. "Oh, didn't know you two were in here." Lee didn't say a word. I forced a quick breath. "What's up?" Isaac glanced between us, then shrugged. "Nothing, just checking if you're heading out soon." "Yeah, in a minute." He left. Silence returned. Different now. Heavier. Lee exhaled. "I should go." I nodded, though everything in me wanted to say stay. He walked past me slowly, his arm brushing mine just enough to make my breath hitch. Before he stepped out, he said softly, "I won't let anything happen to you." Then he left me standing in the quiet, feeling every emotion I had tried so hard to bury. I woke up the next morning with my heart pounding like it was trying to outrun something. Maybe it was. Maybe I was. The message, the almost moment with Lee, the way he looked at me when he said I'm here, it was too much, too close, too real. I wasn't ready. But I still found myself walking toward the community center, hoodie pulled tight, headphones in even though they weren't playing anything. I needed the illusion of noise to hold myself together. Inside, the usual chaos greeted me. Kids running, volunteers shouting friendly instructions, Mira arguing with a printer she swore hated her. But Lee wasn't there. He was always early. Always. I pretended not to notice. Pretended I didn't feel the empty space where he should have been. "Tenny," Mira called. "Help me with these backpacks? They're doing giveaways tonight." I nodded and followed her into the storage room. But after a few minutes, Mira narrowed her eyes at me. "You're quiet today." "I'm always quiet." "No," she said, jabbing a finger at me. "There's quiet you and there's something is wrong, quiet you." I shifted awkwardly. I'm fine. Lie. I'm fine-ish. Better. She tossed a backpack at me. Talk. I adjusted the straps absent-mindedly. I don't know what I'm doing. With what? Everything. Mira tilted her head like she already knew the answer. Is this about Lee? I blinked. No, maybe. I don't know. She tossed another backpack onto the growing pile. Well, he's been weird too. I froze. Weird how? You know how cats get when you bring home a new plant and they stare at it like it betrayed them? That's what he looked like when Isaac talked to you yesterday. Heat crawled into my cheeks. That's ridiculous. She said dramatically. Totally ridiculous. Completely unbelievable. Shocked I am. Mira. Well, what do you want me to say? She asked, shrugging. The man looks like someone stole his favorite blanket every time you walk away from him. I looked down at my shoes, unsure whether to laugh or panic. But, she added gently, you've been off since yesterday. Did something happen? I opened my mouth. I wanted to tell her about the messages, the fear, the past clawing at me, but the words didn't come. Not yet, I whispered. She nodded with surprising softness. Then I'll wait. Just like Lee. That scared me too. Lee finally arrived an hour later, and he looked different. His cap was off, his hair slightly wet, like he'd showered in a rush. His shirt was nicer than usual. A dark green button-down rolled at the sleeves. His jaw was tenser than I'd ever seen it. He walked straight to me. Tenny, he said quietly, can we talk? My pulse jumped. Here? No, he murmured. Outside. I hesitated. Being alone with him still made my heartbeat flip in ways that felt dangerous, but not unsafe. I nodded. He led me to the bench near the corner of the building, away from the main entrance. The air was crisp, the leaves overhead trembled in a soft breeze. He took a breath. I didn't sleep well. My chest tightened. Because of me? Because I'm worried about you, he corrected gently. And I don't know how to help without scaring you. I swallowed hard. I don't want to be scared. Then talk to me, he said. Please. I didn't answer immediately. My eyes drifted to his hands, steady, patient, waiting in his lap. What if I'm overreacting? I whispered. You're not. What if I make things worse by telling you? You won't. What if... Tenny, he interrupted softly. You don't have to protect me from your truth. My breath caught. He leaned forward slightly. Is it the same person as before? I nodded slowly. And he's harassing you again? Another nod. Lee's jaw tightened, not dramatically, just enough to show he was holding something in. Have you told anyone else? He asked. No. Why not? I let out a small, broken laugh. Because every time I trust someone, something goes wrong. But something went right, he said quietly. At least once. I looked at him, confused. You trusted me, he said, even if it was small, even if it was for a moment. My chest ached, because he wasn't wrong. And I'm not going anywhere, he added. My eyes stung, but before either of us could say anything more, a shadow fell over us. Isaac, holding 2 coffees he clearly didn't expect me to refuse. Hey, he said, too bright. I was looking for you. Lee's entire body stiffened. Now's not a good time. Isaac blinked. Didn't realize I needed an appointment. I stood quickly. We were just talking. Isaac offered me a coffee. Walk with me? I hesitated. Lee watched the moment unfold, jaw clenched, eyes darkening, not with anger, but something sharper, something he didn't want to show. Isaac, I began. Maybe later. He looked at me, then at Lee, putting two and two together. Oh, he said slowly. I see. Didn't realize you two were... We're not, I said quickly. Lee looked away. Isaac lifted his hands in surrender. Got it. No problem. But his tone said he absolutely believed there was a problem. He walked off. I exhaled, sinking back onto the bench. This was getting messy. Too messy. Lee watched Isaac disappear, then turned back to me. I don't want him assuming things, he said quietly. Why not? I asked, heart-thudding. He hesitated. Then for the first time, he let something raw slip through. Because I don't like sharing your attention. My breath stilled. He looked at me fully, openly. No glasses, no cap, no distance. Tenny, he said, voice low. I care about you more than I should. Everything inside me froze and burned at the same time. I know you're scared, he whispered. I know you've been hurt, but I'm not him, and I'm not going to walk away, even if you push. I felt something break inside me, not a fracture, but a release. Lee, my voice trembled. For a moment, just a moment, he leaned in, closing the space between us. His forehead almost touched mine. Almost. Tenny, he whispered, I need you to know something. What? I breathed. I'm not who you think I am. My heart jumped. What does that mean? Before he could answer, Mira burst out the doors in a panic. Tenny, we need you inside, now! A kid fell and we can't find the first aid box. Lee stepped back instantly, switching gears. Go. We'll talk later. But as I rushed inside, one truth clung to me like smoke. He wasn't talking about feelings. He was talking about identity. And suddenly I realized I had no idea who Lee actually was. After the chaos inside settled, the scraped knee cleaned, the tears wiped, the first aid box miraculously found behind a printer, my mind still spun with the unfinished sentence Lee left hanging. I'm not who you think I am. The words followed me everywhere. Into the hallway, into the coat room, into my dreams that night. The next morning, I arrived at the center early for once. Lee was already there. He stood by the donation shelf with his arms crossed, face tense, as if waiting for me. His cap was off again, his hair slightly messy, like he'd run his hands through it 100 times before I showed up. Tenny, he said immediately. His voice was quiet, careful, and something in it made my stomach flutter with dread. We need to finish our conversation. I tugged my hoodie strings. I know. He stepped closer, not too close, but close enough that I felt his warmth. Yesterday, I didn't mean to drop that on you in the worst possible moment. What did you mean? I asked, trying to sound steady. His throat worked. I meant you deserve the truth. All of it. A flicker of fear tightened my chest. Not fear of him, fear of what the truth might change. I'm listening, I whispered. He inhaled deeply as if bracing himself. Then, Lee, Mira shouted from across the room. Please tell me you know how to fix the thermostat because I'm either freezing or hallucinating. Lee closed his eyes in frustration. I almost laughed. Almost. Go, I said softly. I'm not running away. He opened his eyes slowly, searching my face for sincerity. You promise? He murmured. My heart tripped. I promise. He nodded once and walked away, though every step looked reluctant, like leaving me, even for a minute, felt like a mistake. But fate, being the absolute menace it was, did not let that conversation happen easily. By the time Lee fixed the thermostat, or pretended to, Mira claimed the room was still emotionally cold. Isaac arrived. with his usual grin and unnecessary confidence. "Hey, hoodie girl," he said, sliding beside me at the donation table. "You busy tonight?" Lee, across the room, stiffened visibly. I ignored him. "Why?" "We're doing a volunteer hangout. Pizza, games, movies, low stakes, high carb. Thought you might want to come." He said it lightly, casually, but his eyes had that glint of interest he didn't bother hiding. "I don't really do group stuff," I said. "That's why you should come," Isaac replied. "Break your pattern." "It's not a pattern." "It is," he said, "and I say that with love." Before I could answer, someone else appeared beside us. Lee. His presence was immediate, quiet but intense enough that the air shifted. Isaac looked up and grinned. "Hey man, want to join us for pizza tonight?" Lee didn't take the bait. "I didn't realize there was a hangout." "Yeah," Isaac said casually. "Trying to build more community. You should come." Lee's eyes flicked to me. Not a glare, not annoyance, a question. A plea. My voice immediately tangled. "I'm not sure," I said. Isaac shrugged. "Come if you feel like it. You too, Lee." He walked off, leaving us in the tension he created. Lee let out a slow breath. "You don't have to go." "I know. But you're considering it." I crossed my arms. "Why does that matter to you?" His eyes softened in a way that made my throat tighten. "It doesn't have to matter to me, but it does." I exhaled shakily. "Lee, we still haven't finished our conversation." "I know," he said. "I haven't forgotten." "Then tell me." He hesitated. "Tenny, can we talk somewhere more private? Not here, not with people walking by." My pulse jumped. "Where?" "There's a quiet room upstairs. No one uses it except Mira when she hides from paperwork." I blinked. "She hides from paperwork?" "Constantly." A small, startled laugh escaped me. His lips twitched. "Come on." Upstairs, the quiet room was dim and cozy. String lights, old sofas, a mural painted years ago by volunteers. Dusty but warm. Lee closed the door softly. Not like he was trapping me, but like he was protecting the moment. We stood facing each other in the soft glow. "Tenny," he said gently, "what I want to tell you, I didn't hide it because I wanted to lie. I hid it because I didn't want to lose what we were building." "What are we building?" I asked, barely breathing. He stepped closer. "You know what we're building." My heart pounded. He continued, voice low and honest. "I'm not who you think I am. I don't just do volunteer work. I don't just live a quiet life. I run a company, a tech company, and it's bigger than you think." I swallowed hard. "How big?" "50 million in valuation," he said softly. "Sometimes more. Depends on the quarter." My breath hitched. Not billionaire, but not simple quiet volunteer either. He saw the shock in my eyes. "I stay out of the spotlight on purpose," he added. "I don't do interviews. I don't post online. I don't want to be recognized when I'm here." I stared at him. "So your name isn't Lee?" He shook his head slowly. "It's short for Leon. My full name is Leon Grant." Grant. I'd heard it somewhere before. A tech company and articles I skimmed but never read fully. A name whispered in business circles. Someone with money, real money, who never showed his face publicly. My pulse raced. "So all this time, you were—" "A man trying to be normal around you," he said, voice almost breaking. "Trying to be someone you'd talk to, someone you'd trust." I backed up a step, overwhelmed. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" "Because you look at me like I'm a person," he whispered. "Not a paycheck, not an opportunity, not someone to impress." I closed my eyes, my breath uneven. "Was anything you showed me real?" I whispered. His voice cracked. "All of it." He took a careful step forward. "I never meant to deceive you. I just didn't want to lose the version of myself you made me feel like I could be." Silence swirled between us, heavy and raw. "Tenny," he said, softer, more vulnerable than I'd ever heard. "Tell me what you're thinking." I looked at him, really looked at him. This quiet man, this gentle man, this flawed man who had money, but also loneliness, power, but also fear. I saw the truth, and I saw the risk. "I'm thinking," I whispered shakily, "that I don't know if I can trust you." His expression shattered. "And I'm also thinking," I added softly, "that I want to." His breath caught. He reached toward me slowly, carefully, tentatively. But before he could touch me, footsteps echoed in the hallway. A knock rattled the door. "Tenny," Mira's voice called. "Someone's asking for you downstairs." We froze. Lee's expression darkened. "Tenny, who's asking?" I don't know, but a cold dread slid down my spine. I did know. I knew exactly who it might be. And suddenly, the past wasn't texting anymore. It had learned how to knock. Mira's knock echoed again. "Tenny, you there? Someone downstairs wants to talk to you. I think he said he knows you." My blood went cold. Lee saw the shift in my face instantly. His entire posture changed. Soft concern sharpening into protective tension. "Tenny," he whispered, stepping closer. "Who do you think it is?" I swallowed hard. It might be him." Lee inhaled sharply, the air catching in his chest. "Your ex?" Not really an ex, not even close, but I nodded. Lee moved in front of the door as if instinctively shielding me, his hand hovering near the knob like he was debating locking it. "You're not talking to him alone." "I don't want to talk to him at all," I whispered. "Then you won't." His voice had changed, still calm but with a steel edge I hadn't heard before. Not anger at me, never at me, but anger for me. Because of me, because someone had hurt me. And now he was here. Mira knocked once more. "Tenny, should I tell him you're not available?" I opened my mouth to answer, but the decision was taken from me, because footsteps came up the hall. Slow, unhurried, familiar in a way that made my stomach twist. And then a figure appeared in the doorway. Not my scammer, not the past I feared, but the past I avoided. Amara. "Tenny?" she breathed, eyes widening. "You look like you've seen a ghost." Relief hit me so hard my knees almost buckled. Amara rushed forward and pulled me into the tightest, warmest hug I'd felt in months. Maybe years. It didn't matter how long we'd gone without speaking, her hugs always felt like home. "Oh my God," she murmured into my shoulder. "You didn't answer my messages." I got worried. I drove all the way from Fairview. Do you know how long that is? 3 hours! 3! I let out a shaky, almost hysterical laugh. "I thought you were someone else." Amara pulled back, cheeks flushed. "Okay, now I'm worried again. Who did you think I was? Beyoncé? A tax collector?" Before I could answer, she noticed Lee. "Oh," she said, her eyes lighting with mischief. "Is this why you haven't replied? Hi, I'm Amara, favorite cousin, sometimes therapist, always nosy." Lee blinked, startled. "I'm Lee." She narrowed her eyes. "Lee, or like, my real name is definitely longer, but I don't want to tell you." "Lee?" I choked. Lee coughed. She had no idea how accidentally accurate she was. "Amara," I hissed. Please stop. What? She demanded innocently. I'm just saying, he looks like a man with secrets. Lee froze. I quickly stepped in front of him. Can we talk downstairs, privately? Amara nodded. Sure, but I'm not leaving until you explain why you look like you're on the run. I forced a smile. I'm not on the run. Lee's gaze flicked to mine, worried, because we both knew that wasn't entirely true. We moved downstairs to an empty corner near the front desk where sunlight spilled through the windows. Amara crossed her arms and leaned against the wall. Okay, she said. Explain. I'm fine, I said. Lie, she announced loudly. I groaned. She softened almost instantly. Tenny, it's me. Just talk to me. I looked down at my hands. It's just someone from before started contacting me again. Her expression shifted. Anger, fear, protectiveness all mixing. That man? The one who scammed you? The one who... Tenny, why didn't you tell us? Because I didn't want to worry anyone. Too late, she snapped. I've been worried since the minute Mom said you moved. I sighed. I just needed space. And you still need support, she said gently. You can want both. I swallowed hard. Before I could reply, I felt a presence behind me. Lee. He didn't interrupt, didn't dominate the conversation. He just stood close, quietly offering strength like a wall I didn't have to lean on but could if I needed. Amara noticed. She narrowed her eyes. And you are? Lee, he said softly. I'm a volunteer here. I care about Tenny. Amara raised a brow. Do you now? Lee straightened slightly. Yes. She studied him for a long moment, then turned to me. You trust him? The question hit me harder than I expected. I looked at Lee, at the man who had caught me when I fell, noticed when I was hurting, listened when I didn't speak, and protected me without touching my freedom. I took a shaky breath. I'm trying, I whispered. Amara nodded slowly. That's enough for now. The tension eased a little, but not completely. Because then, my phone vibrated. I froze. So did Lee. I didn't want to look, but I did. Another unknown number, another message. You didn't come outside yesterday. Were you scared? My chest tightened. Lee noticed my panic instantly. Give me the phone. No. Tenny, he said, voice low but firm. Give it to me. Reluctantly, with trembling fingers, I handed it over. He read the message, and something changed in his eyes. Not rage, not violence, but controlled fury, the kind that came from wanting to protect something deeply. He handed the phone back gently. Has he contacted you before this week? I nodded. How long has this been happening? Months, I whispered, on and off. He closed his eyes briefly, like he was holding back a reaction, and then he said something that terrified me almost as much as the messages. I need to get you somewhere safe. My heart lurched. Lee, no, I'm not letting you drag me into your world. I don't need saving. This isn't about saving you, he said quietly. It's about keeping you safe. I am safe, I insisted, even though we both knew that wasn't fully true. Amara stepped forward. Tenny, he's right. You can't ignore this. I pressed my back against the wall, overwhelmed. I don't want this to become a rescue mission. I don't want someone fixing my life again. I don't want to depend on... On me? Lee asked. My throat tightened. Yes, I whispered. Lee looked at me, really looked at me, with something raw and honest. Then don't depend on me, he said softly. Walk beside me. Let me help because I care, not because you need saving. I closed my eyes. He stepped closer, not touching me, but near enough that the air felt warm. "Tenny," he murmured, "this isn't about your past with him. This is about your present, and your present is scaring me." His voice cracked slightly at the end. Amara exhaled, stepping back to give us space. Lee continued, softer now. "I don't want to lose you to fear. Not when you're finally starting to live again." My breath trembled, because he was right. I was starting to live again, laugh again, feel again, because of him. And that scared me almost as much as the messages. I looked up at him. "Lee," I whispered, "what are we doing?" He swallowed hard. "We're doing something real," he said, "something we can't ignore." His hand lifted, slowly, trembling slightly, as if asking permission without words. "Tenny," he whispered, "let me be here, just here, with you." My heart cracked open. I leaned forward, just slightly, just enough for him to feel it, and that was all he needed. But before the moment could become something more, the front door swung open. Isaac walked in, holding a stack of flyers. He saw us. He saw how close we were standing. He saw the almost touch. He saw the emotions between us, and his smile faltered. "Oh," he said quietly. "Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt." He looked at me, then at Lee. Something unspoken passed between them. And for the first time since I'd met Isaac, he didn't joke, didn't flirt, didn't grin. He stepped aside, voice soft. "I'll leave you two alone." He walked away, but something in his expression told me the room had just shifted and that nothing between us would be the same again. After Isaac left, silence settled over the room like dust. Lee didn't move, didn't step back, didn't pretend nothing had happened. His eyes stayed on me, soft, searching, worried in a way that made my chest tighten. "Tenny," he murmured, "I need you to hear something." My throat tightened. "What?" He took a slow breath. "I didn't tell you who I was because I wanted you to meet me first. Not the money, not the company, not the name." I swallowed hard. "I understand that. I do, but it still feels like you hid it." "I did," he admitted. "Not to trick you, but because I was scared." "Scared of what?" "Scared you'd pull away the moment you knew." My breath hitched. He continued quietly, voice trembling at the edges. "I've watched good people change around me. I've lost friendships. I've seen relationships fall apart before they even started. The money, it does things. It builds walls I never meant to have." His eyes softened with something vulnerable. "I didn't want that wall between us. Not with you." My heart hurt, because part of me understood, and part of me still felt betrayed. "Why now?" I whispered. "Why tell me today?" He hesitated. "Because yesterday, when you told me someone from your past was contacting you, I realized I can't protect you if I'm keeping parts of myself hidden too." I stepped back instinctively, overwhelmed. "I don't want protecting." "I know." His voice cracked. "I want partnership, not power. Believe me, Tenny, I don't want to fix you. I just want to stand beside you." The words were so painfully sincere that they almost reached me. Almost. But the fear was louder, the messages, the betrayal from my past, the weight of another man hiding things from me for my own good. "I need time," I whispered. "Tenny, I need space." His jaw tightened with emotion he couldn't hide. "Please don't shut me out." "I'm not," I said quickly. I can't breathe right now. I'm sorry." He closed his eyes like the words physically hurt him. "I'll give you space," he said quietly. But please, don't disappear." I turned away before he could see the tears building. The next day, I didn't go to the center. My phone buzzed with a message from Mira. "You alive or what? Lee is pacing like a disappointed husband." Another from Amara. "Call me or I'm knocking on your door again." Then one from an unknown number. And I nearly threw the phone across the room. "Missed you today. Why hide?" My hands shook. I turned off the phone entirely. But turning it off didn't silence the fear. By late afternoon, I found myself sitting on the floor with my journal, old, worn, page bent and smudged, the only place I'd ever been completely honest. I wrote, "I don't know how to trust someone who reminds me what I lost. I don't know how to let someone in when the last person who got close gutted me from the inside. But Lee, he's different, and I don't know how to handle that." The pen shook in my hand. I'm terrified that I'm falling again, and even more terrified that this time it might be real. A knock startled me. I froze. Then, "Tenny?" Mira's voice. "Open the door, or I'm picking the lock with a bobby pin." I exhaled in relief and pulled the door open. Mira marched in without waiting for permission. "Girl, the hell? You disappeared." "I needed a day." "You need food too, and sunlight, and maybe emotional CPR because Lee looks like he's been hit by a bus." I blinked. "What?" "He's miserable," she said. "Like Victorian novel miserable. He's all broody and pacing and sighing dramatically. Honestly, it's hot." "Mira." "What? I'm just saying, brooding looks good on him." I groaned. "I don't know what to do." She softened. "Do you like him?" I swallowed. Yes." "Do you trust him?" That answer didn't come as quickly. "I'm trying," I whispered. Mira placed a gentle hand on my shoulder. "Then talk to him. Don't run. Not when you finally found someone who actually sees you." My chest tightened. She was right, and I hated how right she was. That evening, I gathered all my courage, what little I had, and walked to the community center. The sun was setting, painting the sky with streaks of gold and violet. The windows glowed softly from the inside. When I entered, the building was almost empty, except for one person. Lee was in the reading corner, sitting on the floor with his back against a shelf, elbows on his knees, head bowed. He looked exhausted, hollow. He looked up the moment he sensed me. "Tenny." The way he said my name, relief and fear and hope tangled together, made my eyes sting. I stepped closer. He stood quickly, almost too quickly. "I'm sorry," I whispered. He shook his head. "You don't need to apologize." "I do. I left without letting you finish. I needed space, but I shouldn't have disappeared." He exhaled shakily. "I was scared too." My breath caught. "Of what?" "Of losing you," he said quietly, "before I even had a chance to deserve you." The words settled deep in my chest. I took a small step closer. Not much, just enough. "Lee, I believe you didn't want to hurt me." He swallowed. "I didn't. But I also need honesty, always." "You'll have it," he said instantly. "No more hiding." I hesitated, then asked the question I'd been avoiding. "Is there anything else I need to know?" He froze. Not long, but long enough. My heart sank. "Lee, it's nothing bad," he said, quickly. "Just something I should have told you sooner." "What is it?" He ran a hand through his hair, looking suddenly unsure. "There was a moment," he admitted, "when I used my influence at the center. Because of you." I frowned. "What do you mean?" He sighed. "Last week, when someone made a comment about your hoodie, nothing awful, just unnecessary, I might have convinced them to volunteer somewhere else. My eyes widened. Lee! I know, he said. It was wrong. I shouldn't have interfered. I just didn't want anyone making you uncomfortable. That's not your decision to make. He lowered his head. I'm sorry, truly. I stared at him. The man wasn't perfect. He made mistakes. He let his protectiveness slip into control sometimes, but he owned it. He apologized. He tried. And that made him human. Not dangerous, not manipulative, not my past. My chest tightened, but the moment was interrupted by a sharp knock on the glass entrance door. Both our heads snapped toward the sound. A man stood outside, tall, hooded, face shadowed. He tapped the glass again. Harder. Lee stepped in front of me instantly, body rigid. Who is that? He demanded. My heartbeat stuttered. It might be, but the words died in my throat. The man stepped into the light. And it wasn't my scammer. It was someone worse. Evan, Lee's assistant. And the look on his face wasn't friendly. He stepped inside and said loudly enough for the empty room to echo, Leonard Grant, you need to come with me. Right now. Lee went still, completely still. My stomach dropped. No cap, no glasses, no Lee. Just the name he'd avoided saying out loud in front of me. Leonard Grant. And the worst part? Everyone in the center turned to look. Every volunteer, every parent, every onlooker who'd stayed late. A wave of whispers spread through the room. Is that Leonard Grant? The tech guy? Why is he here? Their eyes turned toward us, toward me. And just like that, all the safety I'd built, all the progress, all the quietness of Lee evaporated. He tried to speak. Tenny. But I stepped back, away from him, away from the truth, away from the crowd now whispering about the wealthy man standing beside the girl in a battered brown hoodie. I shook my head, breath trembling. I can't, I whispered. He reached for me, but stopped himself, remembering my boundaries. Tenny, please. I can't do this, I said again, backing farther away. Not like this. Not with everyone looking. His face crumpled. Please don't walk away. I need time, I said, voice breaking. I need to think. Tenny, but I was already moving toward the door, away from him, away from the noise, away from the man whose truth had finally found the light. He called my name again. Teniola. I didn't turn back, because if I did, I might not have walked away at all. I didn't stop walking until the community center was several blocks behind me. Even then, I didn't slow down. My heart felt like it was cracking under the weight of everything that had just happened. The reveal, the crowd, Evan's voice slicing through the air with the name Lee had tried so hard to hide. Leonard Grant. A name with weight. A name I'd heard whispered in tech circles online. A name attached to money, power, and the exact type of life I'd sworn I would never be close to again. He didn't follow me. Maybe that hurt more than if he had. When I finally reached my apartment, I locked the door, slid down the wall, and buried my face in my hands. I wasn't crying. Not exactly. It was more like shaking. The kind that happens when the past and present collide so fast your body can't keep up. A part of me bitterly thought, of course he had a secret. Of course the man who looked at me like I mattered had an entire world he couldn't show me. And maybe I should have guessed. The careful way he carried himself, the way he avoided cameras, the absence of social media, the overly polished politeness, the anxiety when Isaac got close, the fact that he never mentioned money, even when he paid for things quietly, discreetly. I should have seen it, but I didn't, because a part of me didn't want to. A part of me wanted him to be simple, human, ordinary, someone who saw me and not my brokenness, But now the world saw him, and the world had seen us, and suddenly everything felt too big again. My phone buzzed. I didn't want to look, but I did. Not the scammer, not unknown, not Mira. Lee, one message. Tenny, please let me explain. I didn't want it to happen like this. I'm sorry. I'm outside, but I won't knock unless you want me to. I closed my eyes. He came. He still came, but I couldn't face him. I typed back, I can't talk right now. The dots showed he was replying, then stopped, then returned. Finally, I understand. I'm here if you need me. I won't go far. I curled into myself, phone pressed against my chest, willing the world to stop spinning, because despite everything, a part of me wanted to open the door. A part of me wanted to fall into his arms. A part of me wanted him to make this all feel small again. But trust wasn't built in a moment, and fear didn't disappear just because someone cared. Lee didn't text again that night, but he didn't leave either. I knew because when I finally gathered the courage to crack open the blinds, I saw him. Sitting on the hood of his car across the street, arms folded loosely, head tilted back, waiting, not demanding, not pushing, just waiting. And for a moment, my heart softened. Then the fear rose again. If he could wait like this, what else could he do? What other choices would he make for me without asking? What other parts of his life could swallow me whole? I let the blinds fall shut. I didn't sleep. The next morning, Havenbrook buzzed with rumors. Mira called 5 times, Isaac twice. Amara once with the dramatic message, "Who is this tech prince, and why did I not know you were dating him?" I ignored all of them. By noon, someone knocked on my door, lightly, timidly. "Tenny," Mira's voice. "It's me. Please open. I brought pastries. From the good bakery, not the one that tastes like disappointment." I cracked the door open. Mira took one look at me and shoved right inside. "Oh, sweetheart, you look like you lost a fight with your pillow." "Thanks." "You're welcome." She sat across from me, pastry box in hand like an offering. "So," she said gently, "do you want to talk?" "No." "You want to eat?" "No." "You want to stare into space like a malfunctioning robot?" Yes." "Great," she said. "I can do that too." We sat silently for a minute. Then she added, "People are talking." I groaned. I figured. "They're not saying anything bad," Mira said quickly. "Mostly they're shocked and curious and also a little jealous because apparently you have mysterious poor girl pulls secret millionaire energy." I glared. "Mira." Sorry. She cleared her throat. "But Lee—" "Stop," I whispered. She softened. "Tenny." He looked devastated. My chest tightened painfully. "He cares about you," she said. "Like, deeply. And he didn't look angry or defensive. He looked scared." I swallowed hard. "I am too." She nodded. "I know." I stayed quiet. Then she added softly, "Just don't run away before you know what you're running from." When Mira left, I finally turned my phone back on. There were 2 messages from a number I didn't want to see. "Thought you said you didn't trust people. You slipping again?" And then, "You're easy to find, you know. Some people just look for you harder." My blood turned cold. The world tilted. For the first time in a long time, I truly felt unsafe. I grabbed my jacket and bolted out the door. Not toward safety, not toward the police, not toward anyone logical. My feet carried me somewhere else, somewhere familiar, somewhere I'd felt steady and held without ever being touched. I walked fast, maybe too fast, until the Havenbrook Center came into view. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know if this was smart. But the moment I stepped inside, I saw him. Lee, standing near the reading corner, talking quietly with Isaac. Tense, guarded, eyes flicking to the door every few seconds like he was waiting for... His gaze landed on me. He froze. Everything about him went still, the way a storm pauses before it breaks. Then he murmured something to Isaac and walked slowly toward me, careful not to rush, not to scare, not to assume. "Tenny," he said softly. "Hi." I swallowed hard. My heart hammered painfully. He stopped a few feet away, not close, not far, just open. "I didn't know if you'd come," he said. "I didn't know either," I whispered. He exhaled shakily, as if releasing a breath he'd been holding since yesterday. "Are you okay?" he asked. "No." Concern darkened his eyes. "What happened?" I hesitated, then voice trembling. He messaged again. In an instant, Lee's entire demeanor shifted, not violently, not dangerously, but with fierce, controlled protectiveness. "Tenny," he said quietly but firmly, "you're not dealing with this alone anymore." I opened my mouth to argue. He shook his head gently. "I'm not trying to save you. I'm asking you to let me stand with you." My breath trembled. Something inside me broke again. But this time, it wasn't fear. It was surrender, not to danger, not to weakness, to trust, slow, fragile, real. I nodded, and something in his expression softened so deeply it scared me in a different way. "Thank you," he whispered. We stood there, inches apart, the air warm with everything we hadn't said. Then Isaac walked by. He paused, looked at us, looked at Lee, looked at me, and with surprising gentleness he said, "He's the one, isn't he?" I didn't answer. I didn't have to. He smiled sadly. "Good. You deserve someone who looks at you like that." Then he left us alone. Lee took a slow breath and stepped closer, just a half step. "Teniola," he murmured, like my name was something sacred. "I need you to know something." My pulse quickened. "What?" He swallowed, eyes burning with sincerity. "I'm not leaving. Not now. Not ever. Not unless you tell me to." My heart opened painfully wide. "I don't want you to leave," I whispered. His breath hitched. He lifted a hand, slow, trembling, and brushed a loose strand of hair behind my ear. Not a kiss, not yet, but close. So close. "Tenny," he whispered, voice shaking. The fire alarm shrieked to life. The entire building erupted into chaos, and our moment shattered, again. The fire alarm wasn't real, just a sensor glitch. But it forced everyone outside in a messy cloud of noise and confusion. Kids covered their ears, parents grabbed bags, volunteers yelled directions that nobody followed. And there I was, standing on the sidewalk, the cold wind biting my face, my heartbeat still tangled in the moment Lee and I had almost shared, and reality rushing back too fast. Lee found me through the chaos, weaving between people until he reached my side. He didn't touch me. It wasn't his way, but he stood close enough that the warmth from him eased the sharp edge of the cold. "You okay?" he asked over the noise. I nodded, though my pulse was anything but steady. His gaze flicked to my phone still in my hand. "The message. Can I see it?" I hesitated. Then I handed it over. He read it once. His jaw tightened. He read it again. "He's escalating," Lee said, voice a low rumble of controlled anger. "This isn't just harassment anymore." My stomach twisted. "What does that mean?" "It means he's watching you, or following you, or close enough to feel confident." He looked up, eyes dark. "We're going to the police." "No," I said instantly. Tenny, no, I repeated, stronger this time. The last time I went to the police, they told me I fell for a scam, not a crime, that I was stupid, that I should have known better. His expression broke. Anger at them, not at me. You weren't stupid, he said firmly. You were manipulated. It doesn't matter. They didn't care. I care. The words hit me with the force of a confession. Before I could respond, a kid tugged on Lee's sleeve. Mr. Lee, the fire truck is coming. He gave the kid a quick smile, one of those small, rare smiles that softened him, and then turned back to me. Stay here, he said gently. I'll help Mira with crowd control. I can help too. No, he said, more forceful than he meant. He softened instantly. I just need you where I can see you. My breath caught. He wanted me safe, not hidden. Safe. I nodded. He jogged off into the crowd, giving instructions calmly, guiding people away from the doors until the firefighters waved us back inside. But even while helping, he kept looking at me. Checking, reassuring, always watching without hovering. It should have overwhelmed me. Instead, it steadied something deep inside. Once things calmed and everyone returned indoors, Mira approached with an exhausted groan. Why does the fire alarm always break when I'm in a good mood? Because the universe hates us, I replied. She laughed, and then her expression turned serious as she looked between me and Lee. You two all right? She asked softly. I nodded slowly. But Lee didn't answer. He kept scanning the room, posture tense, eyes following every person who entered. If I didn't know better, I would have thought he was security detail, not a volunteer, not a tech CEO, but someone who'd made it his mission to guard the space around me. Mira leaned in and whispered, Do I need to distract him before he tackles someone? I snorted despite myself. He's not going to tackle anyone. His eyebrows say otherwise. I glanced at him, standing tall, jaw tight, eyes sharp. Okay. Maybe the eyebrows did look ready to fight. Before I could respond, Evan walked into the center and every muscle in Lee's body locked into stone. Evan approached us carefully, giving Lee a nod and me a polite, apologetic half-smile. Ms. Teniola, he said softly, I'm really sorry for what happened yesterday. I shouldn't have said his full name like that. It was unprofessional. My breath hitched. Lee cut in fast. She doesn't owe you a response. I touched his arm gently. It's okay. His eyes softened instantly, like my touch rewired him. I looked at Evan. It's all right. Just unexpected. Evan nodded with relief. Leon asked me to keep things low profile from now on. No surprises, no name slips. I promise. Leon. The name still felt foreign on my tongue. Leon, shifted uncomfortably, eyes flicking to me as if worried I'd pull away again. Evan gave him a quick report about work stuff, something about a postponed investor meeting and an upcoming conference. Lee nodded, distracted. Then Evan lowered his voice. She's still messaging you, isn't she? Lee stiffened. And yes. Evan cursed under his breath. We'll handle it. I stepped back like the ground moved under me. Handle it. I wasn't sure how I felt about that. After Evan left, Lee turned to me. Tenny, he said softly, you don't have to deal with this alone. I know. I'm not going to make decisions for you, he said. Not anymore. But let me help. Let me stand with you. I stared at him. I just don't want to be someone you protect, I whispered. He stepped closer, carefully, slowly, like approaching something fragile. You're not someone I protect, he murmured. You're someone I choose. My breath caught, and for the first time I didn't step away. His hand lifted toward my cheek. hesitant, trembling, but he stopped just before touching me. "Can I?" he whispered. I leaned into the warmth of his palm. His fingers brushed my skin, soft and reverent. It wasn't a kiss, but it felt like the moment before a kiss. The inhale, the hesitation, the precise second where the world narrows to two people and nothing else. "Tenny," he whispered, voice shaking with restraint. "I want you to know me, all of me, not the version I hide." I looked up at him. "I'm scared," I whispered. "I am too," he admitted quietly. "But I'd rather be scared with you than safe without you." My chest ached. I stepped closer. He exhaled sharply, like he'd been holding his breath since yesterday. His forehead lowered toward mine, barely touching, just enough to feel the warmth. My pulse thundered. His lips hovered a whisper away from mine. "Tenny," he murmured, "tell me to stop, and I will." I didn't tell him to stop, but I didn't move either. We stayed suspended in that moment, breath to breath, heartbeat to heartbeat, want to want. Then a loud crash echoed from a nearby room. We startled apart. Mira shouted, "I'm okay. The ladder is not, but I am." I closed my eyes. She has the worst timing on earth. Lee groaned softly. "I swear the universe is mocking me." We shared a stunned, breathless laugh, and just like that, some of the fear lifted, some of the walls cracked, and something warm started to bloom in the space between us, soft, hesitant, real. As the center closed, Lee walked me toward the exit. The sky was turning pink, the air crisp and quiet. At the mile door, he stopped. "I'll walk you home," he said. "You don't have to." "I know." His voice softened. "I want to." I hesitated, old fear flickering. He leaned down slightly, searching my eyes. "I won't touch you unless you ask," he whispered. "I won't push. I won't assume. I'll just walk." My throat tightened. I nodded softly. He opened the door for me, and as we stepped out into the evening air together, for the first time since my past found me again, I didn't feel alone. The walk back to my apartment was quiet, but not the uncomfortable kind. It was the kind of quiet that feels full, like the air was holding everything we weren't saying out loud. Lee walked beside me with his hands in his pockets, shoulders relaxed but alert. Every time someone passed us, he subtly shifted closer, not touching, not crowding, just placing himself between me and whatever might approach. It should have annoyed me. Instead, it made me feel steady. When we reached my building, we stopped at the steps leading to the front door. The porch light buzzed softly overhead. The evening breeze brushed my hoodie, carrying faint hints of city and rain. Lee looked up at the building like he was memorizing its shape. Then he turned to me. His face was open, unguarded, bare in a way that caught me off guard. He looked like a man still afraid to hope, but hoping anyway. "Thank you," he murmured. "For what?" "For letting me walk with you." I swallowed. "Thank you for coming." He nodded once, almost shyly. "If you ever want me to stop," he said softly, "just say the word. I don't want to take up space you don't want me in." Something in my chest twisted. "You're not taking up space," I whispered. "You're helping me breathe." His breath hitched. He stepped closer, not touching, just near enough that I felt the warmth of him seep through the evening air. "Teniola," he said gently. "I know yesterday was overwhelming. I know what Evan did hurt you. And I know I should have told you the truth before the world found out." I looked away. "It wasn't just that." "I know," he said quietly. "It was everything, and I made it worse." "You didn't mean to." "But I still did," he whispered. His honesty broke me open more than anything else. I met his eyes again. They were soft, barely steady. Lee, or Leon, I don't even know what to call you anymore. He flinched with a sad smile. You can call me Lee. That's the name you met. That's the name I want with you. I nodded slowly. Something eased inside me. Lee, I said quietly, I'm scared. I know. I'm scared of him, I swallowed. And I'm scared of you. He stepped closer, heart in his eyes. Then let's be scared together. The words hit something raw in me, quiet, gentle, honest. He wasn't promising perfection. He wasn't offering to fix me. He wasn't swooping in like a savior. He was asking to stand beside me in the storm. Why do you care this much? I whispered. He inhaled slowly, like he had 100 answers and all of them were true. Because, he said, voice trembling at the edges, you make me feel like I'm finally becoming someone I want to be. Not the expectation, not the grandfather's legacy, not the CEO or the name in articles. Just me. The wind rustled softly around us. And when you look at me, he whispered, I don't feel like a man with something to prove. I feel like a man who's enough. My breath caught. He wasn't saying grand lines. He wasn't performing. He was unraveling. And something in me unraveled with him. Lee, I breathed. His hand lifted, but he didn't touch me. He hovered, waiting for permission. Teniola, he said softly, I want to kiss you, but only if you want me to. My heart thudded so loudly I could hear it in my ears. My whole body trembled, not in fear, but in the fragile hope that this moment might actually be real. My voice cracked. I've been trying not to. A flicker of confusion crossed his face. Not to what? Not to want that, I whispered. His breath faltered. Do you? He asked quietly. I didn't answer with words. Instead, I took one slow, careful step closer. Our chests nearly touched. Our breaths mingled. The world went very still. Lee's eyes softened, warm, disbelieving, entirely undone. Tenny, he breathed. Are you sure? I nodded. The tension in his body snapped. Not in a rush, not in hunger, but in overwhelming relief. His hand rose again, trembling slightly, and gently cupped the side of my face. His thumb brushed my cheekbone in a slow, reverent arc. I leaned into his touch. He swallowed hard, and then, with the gentlest motion, like he was giving me every chance to pull away, he lowered his forehead to mine. The last wall inside me crumbled. I closed the final inch between us. The kiss was soft, so soft it felt like breath more than touch, like a question answered quietly, like a door opening. He kissed me like he was afraid I'd disappear. I kissed him like I was afraid I'd break, but neither happened. Instead, the world around us blurred. My fear quieted, his tension melted, and for one small, trembling moment, nothing existed but us. When we finally pulled back, his hand remained on my cheek, thumb stroking once more, gentle and grounding. He rested his forehead against mine again. Thank you, he whispered, breath shaky. For what? I whispered back. For trusting me enough to let yourself want this. I swallowed, emotions gathering in my chest. I didn't let myself, I said softly. I just couldn't stop. A laugh escaped him, quiet, breathless, disbelieving. That makes two of us. We stayed like that, foreheads touching, breaths mingling, until the world started to settle around us again. Then his expression shifted slightly. Not fearful, not jealous, but something sharper. Tenny, he said carefully, when did he send the last message? My heart sank. I pulled back and looked at my phone. 2 missed texts, one from Mira. Did y'all kiss? Don't lie. I felt the atmosphere shift. And one from the unknown number. My hand trembled as I read it. You're smiling more lately. It won't last. I'm close. My breath hitched. Lee's expression hardened, not violently, but with fierce, protective resolve. Tenny, he said softly, this ends tonight. I opened my mouth to reply, but deep in my chest, somewhere beneath the fear, beneath the shaking, I felt it. For the first time in 2 years. I wasn't facing the darkness alone. Lee didn't explode. He didn't shout. He didn't make wild promises about fixing everything. He just stood there on the dimly lit porch, jaw tight, eyes steady, breathing slowly like he was containing a storm inside him. Let me see it, he said. His voice was soft, too soft. I handed him my phone. He read the message. You're smiling more lately. It won't last. I'm close. And something inside him hardened, not in anger at me, in fear for me. This isn't random, he murmured. He's not guessing. He's watching. My blood ran cold. So what do we do? Lee didn't answer right away. He paced once, running a hand through his hair, grounding himself. Then he turned back to me. I'm not calling police yet, he said, unless you want that. I shook my head quickly. No. Okay. He stepped closer. Then we follow your lead. Always your lead. That mattered. God, it mattered more than he knew. He wasn't taking control. He wasn't swooping in. He was waiting for me. What do you want? He asked gently. I swallowed hard. I want him to stop. We'll make him stop, he whispered. Not I. We. Something warm spread through my chest. Then he asked the question that scared me most. Can I stay with you tonight? My breath caught. He saw my panic instantly. He lifted both hands gently, palms up. Not inside unless you ask, he said. Not touching you unless you ask. I just don't want you alone if he's close. My throat tightened. I looked at him. His eyes were soft, open, no pressure, no expectation, just care. Okay, I whispered. Relief washed over his entire face. He didn't move closer. He let me move first. I unlocked my door. Do you want to come in? I asked quietly. His eyes widened slightly, like he hadn't expected that. Only if you're sure, he said. I nodded. We stepped inside. It wasn't much. Small living room, small kitchen, tiny sofa, thrift store curtains. But he looked around like it was a sanctuary. Like being allowed inside meant something. He stood near the doorway at first, unsure. You can sit, I said softly. He nodded and took the chair by the window, hands folded, posture polite and careful. I can sleep here, he said, or on the floor, or not sleep at all. Whatever makes you feel safe. The gentleness of it nearly undid me. You don't have to sleep on the floor, I said, sitting on the couch across from him. Then I'll stay in this chair, he murmured. It faces the door. I tensed. You think he might come here? I don't know, he said honestly, and I don't want to assume anything. Silence settled between us, soft, fragile, full of everything we hadn't said. I curled my knees to my chest. Lee? He looked up instantly. Yeah? Why did you come last night? To my building? His expression shifted, not embarrassed, not guilty, but vulnerable. You told me you needed time, he said, and I wanted to give you that. He swallowed. But I also needed to know you were safe, even from a distance. My chest ached. He continued, voice quiet. I didn't follow you. I didn't check your phone. I didn't ask anyone for your address. I just sat there because it felt wrong to be more than a street away while you were hurting. I covered my eyes for a moment, This man, this complicated, flawed, lonely man. You can't do that every time something scares you, I whispered. I know. His voice cracked. I'm trying. I let my hands fall. How long have you been alone like that? I asked. He looked down. A long time. By choice? Yes, seen, but not really. I frowned. He continued quietly, words slow and honest. When I started the company, everyone wanted something from me. Opportunities, investments, favors. They didn't see me, just what I could offer. He paused. It got easier not to trust anyone. But you trusted me? He met my eyes then, fully, openly. No, he said softly. I didn't trust you. The words hit me sharply. He stepped toward the truth with a breath. I wanted to, more than I've wanted anything in years, and that scared the hell out of me. My heartbeat thudded. But you do trust me now? I whispered. He exhaled. Yes, God, yes. Warmth wrapped around my chest like a blanket. And I'm still scared, he added quietly. Every minute of this, every minute with you. I blinked. Why? Because this matters, he said simply. You matter. The room felt impossibly small, like the air was charged with something soft and breathless. Lee, I whispered, I don't know how to do this. I don't either, he said, stepping closer, slow, slow, slow. But I want to learn. With you. That did it. My eyes watered, not from fear, but from the overwhelming urge to trust him back. Then a vibration rattled the coffee table. My phone. I froze. Lee's posture changed instantly. He rose from the chair like a wire pulled tight. Do you want to read it? He asked. No, I whispered. Do you want me to? I hesitated, then nodded. He picked up the phone gently, like it was a bomb that could go off. He read the message. His jaw tightened, his fingers curled around the phone. He didn't show it to me, but his expression told me everything. It's him, Lee said quietly. He's watching. He said he knows you're not alone. My stomach dropped. He said, Lee paused, anger tightening every line of his posture. He said he hopes I'm comfortable, since I look like someone who falls too easily. My breath snapped. He added softly, voice trembling with restrained fury. He told you to come outside if you want him to leave me alone. The room tilted. No, I whispered. No, I won't. You're not going anywhere, Lee said firmly. He's manipulating you, and he's using me to do it. I sank onto the couch, shaking. Lee sat beside me, not touching, but close enough that I felt his presence anchoring me. Tenny, he murmured. We don't respond. We don't go outside. We don't give him anything. Tears finally broke free. Lee's breath hitched softly at the sight. Hey, he whispered. Hey, look at me. I did. And something in his expression, soft, fierce, full of love he wasn't ready to say out loud, broke the last piece of fear inside me. You're safe, he whispered. I'm here. I leaned forward, not because he pulled me, not because he asked, because I wanted to. I rested my forehead against his shoulder, trembling. His breath caught in surprise. Then slowly, carefully, he lifted a hand and rested it on my back, light as a whisper, gentle as breath. I didn't pull away, neither did he, and in that quiet, trembling moment, despite the danger, despite the messages, despite the world outside, I felt safe for the first time in years, because I wasn't facing any of it alone. We stayed like that, me leaning into him, his hand resting lightly on my back until my breathing finally began to steady. Lee didn't rush me, didn't push, didn't tighten his hold. He just stayed, warm, still, present. When I finally pulled back, he shifted his hand away immediately, not assuming even a second longer of closeness than I wanted. "You okay?" he asked softly. "No," I whispered, "but I'm closer." His lips almost curved into a smile. Almost. Then he sat up straighter. "We need a plan," he said gently. I nodded, wiping my face. "I know." But neither of us got the chance to make one, because a sharp noise snapped through the apartment, the sound of something knocking lightly against the window. We froze. Lee turned his head toward the sound, then slowly stood up. He moved quietly to the window, lifting the corner of the blinds no more than an inch. His entire body went still. "What is it?" I whispered. He didn't look away from the window. "Tenny," he said slowly, "I need you to step back." Fear rushed through me. "Who's there?" He lowered the blinds gently, eyelids fluttering closed for a second as he gathered himself. "It's not him," he said. "It's a rock." "A rock?" He nodded. "Thrown from across the street, probably the same person who sent the message." My stomach flipped. There was a soft scrape on the glass again, another pebble lightly tapping the window. Lee's jaw tightened. "He wants you to come out," he said, "and he wants me to know he's close." "Lee," he turned to me quickly, "you're not going outside." "I know," he exhaled. "I'm going to call Evan, not because I want to control this, before you think that, but because I need someone I trust to help keep you safe." I hesitated. "Please," he whispered, "let me loop someone in." I nodded slowly. He stepped aside and dialed Evan, speaking quietly into the phone, giving the address, explaining the situation. But while he talked, another ping hit the window. My breath hitched. "Lee," I whispered urgently, "he's still out there." He nodded, signaling wait. Evan's muffled voice came through the receiver, sharp and firm. Lee listened, then said, "Yes, hurry." He ended the call and put his phone away. "Tenny," he said, turning back to me, "we're not confronting him. We're not giving him what he wants." "What if he doesn't leave?" "Then Evan and someone else will handle it." "And what if he's not alone?" I whispered. Lee's expression softened, but the protectiveness never left. "Then I stay right here," he said, "between you and anything that tries to get through that door." My breath shook. Another tap against the glass, harder this time. Lee flinched, not in fear, but in fury. Then the unexpected happened. A voice outside yelled, "Hey, you! What are you doing over there?" A startled shout followed, then quick footsteps running away. Lee looked toward the window. "What was that?" I peeked carefully behind him. Across the street stood Mr. Coleman, the elderly neighbor who lived 2 floors below me, holding a broom like a sword. "Caught some fool throwing rocks," he shouted up at our window. "Told him to get lost or I'd call the police." He pointed the broom at the sidewalk dramatically, then marched back to his building. For a moment, everything went quiet. Then I burst into shaky laughter. Lee blinked. "Are you laughing?" I think," I gasped, clutching my chest, "I think Mr. Coleman just chased my stalker down the street with a broom." The disbelief on Lee's face was priceless. He shook his head. "I don't know how to process that. That makes 2 of us." Relief washed over me in a wave, thin but real. Lee didn't laugh, but the tension in his shoulders eased slightly. "Don't get comfortable," he murmured. "He might come back." He wasn't wrong, but something had shifted. For the first time, the fear felt smaller. Not gone, not fixed, but smaller. Lee walked toward me again, slower this time, like approaching fragile ground. He brushed a loose strand of hair away from my face. Not possessive, not forceful, just a soft instinct he immediately pulled back from, as if waiting to see if I wanted more. I did. I leaned into his hand. He froze, then relaxed under my touch. "Tenny," he murmured, "I need you to know something." "What?" He swallowed hard. "Earlier, when you walked away at the center, I understood. I hated it, but I understood." He looked down, voice cracking. "I knew I'd caused that, and I told myself I would wait as long as it took for you to feel safe again." My chest tightened painfully. "But tonight," he continued softly, "watching you read that message, watching you shake, watching you choose to let me in anyway, I realized something." I looked up. "What?" He took a careful breath. "You're braver than you think." His voice deepened. "And I'm more in love than I meant to be." My breath caught. The world went still. Lee flinched slightly, as though he hadn't meant to say it out loud yet, but he didn't take it back, not even a little. He stood there in my dim apartment, rain beginning to patter against the window, the streetlight casting a glow across his face. And I realized something I hadn't let myself admit. I was falling too. Slowly, terribly, honestly. "Lee," my voice shook. "You don't have to say that." He stepped closer, only one step, but enough to show he wasn't retreating. "I know," he whispered, "but I wanted to. I don't expect you to say anything back." I inhaled shakily. "What if I want to?" He froze. Then his expression, his entire being, went still. "Tenny," he breathed, like my name was a prayer. I moved closer until our bodies brushed, just barely. His hand rose to my cheek again, trembling softly this time. "I'm scared," I whispered. "So am I. And I don't know what comes next." "Neither do I," he said, "but I want to figure it out with you." That was enough. More than enough. Lightning flashed softly outside, not dramatic, just a quiet pulse of light. The room warmed with the soft flicker, and for the second time that night, I closed the space between us first. Our lips met, not desperate, not rushed, but warm, slow, and full of every emotion we'd been too afraid to name. Lee exhaled shakily into the kiss, one hand cupping my jaw, the other gently resting on my waist, but never pulling, never claiming, just offering permission. I melted into him, trusting him with the smallest piece of myself. When we finally pulled apart, our foreheads rested together. He whispered, breath trembling, "I'll stay on the chair, if you want." I smiled softly. "I want you close, but the chair is fine." He nodded, relieved and respectful, and as he settled in for the night, phone on, boots on, posture alert but calm, I realized something deeply, quietly true. Tonight was the first time I wasn't running from the past. I was choosing the present, choosing him, and that changed everything. Lee didn't sleep. I knew because every time I blinked awake, I saw him there, still in the chair, still watching the door, still alert but calm enough not to frighten me. He looked like a man keeping vigil, not out of desperation, but devotion. By morning, soft light filtered through the curtains. I sat up slowly, rubbing my eyes. Lee straightened immediately. "You slept," he said gently. "That's good." "Did you?" "Not really." I frowned. "You should have." He shook his head. "Not until you're safe." Something warm and frightened tangled inside me. "Lee, what if he comes back?" "Then he'll find me here instead of you alone." My breath hitched. Before I could respond, a soft knock echoed from the door. Both of us froze. Lee stood slowly, tense but quiet, and moved to the peephole. He relaxed. "It's Evan," he said. I let out a shaky breath. Lee opened the door. Benjamin stepped inside, eyes scanning the room with brisk efficiency. He held a folder and a portable battery pack. "Morning," he said calmly. "Don't panic. Everything's handled." Lee frowned. "Handled how?" Evan held up the folder. "Cameras from the street caught the guy last night. Mr. Broom Warrior chasing him helped. He got a full face shot." My jaw dropped. "Mr. Coleman caught him on camera?" Evan nodded. "Hero of the hour." Lee didn't smile. He was still too tense for that, but the edge in his posture softened. "So, police?" Lee asked. "Yes," Evan said. "I sent everything anonymously, so Tenny's address isn't connected to the report." Relief washed through me so sharply it made my eyes sting. "He won't be back," Evan continued. "They're tracking him and already linked him to 2 similar cases. He's not subtle." I sagged into the couch. It was over, really over. For the first time, I believed it. Lee looked at me, not assuming I felt safe, not pushing me to smile, just checking, always checking. "Are you okay?" he asked softly. I nodded. "Yes, I think I am." When Evan left, promising updates, the apartment felt strangely quiet. Lee exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for hours. "I'm glad it's over," he murmured. I nodded, then looked at him. He looked exhausted, dark circles under his eyes, hair an unintentional mess, shirt wrinkled from sleeping upright, but he also looked softer somehow, like a man finally allowed to let his guard down. "You look terrible," I said gently. He huffed a laugh. "Accurate." "And brave," I added quietly. His expression shifted, surprised, touched, maybe a little undone. "Tenny, I mean it," I whispered. "Last night was the first time in 2 years I didn't feel like I was falling alone." He stepped closer. "Good," he said softly, "because I want to be here. Not as someone fixing your life, not as a shield you didn't ask for, but as someone you're allowed to lean on." I swallowed hard. "And I want to lean on you too," he added quietly. "If you let me." I looked up at him. "I want that," I whispered. "I'm scared, but I want that." He breathed out a fragile, humbled exhale and lowered himself onto the couch beside me. We sat there side by side, not touching at first. Then my hand moved, slowly, cautiously, and rested near his. He looked down at the small space between our fingers. Then, barely above a whisper, "May I?" I nodded. He threaded his fingers through mine. Warm, steady, gentle. Everything I didn't know I needed. We sat like that for a long time, letting quiet settle like a blanket around us. Finally, Lee turned to me. "There's something else I want to tell you," he said, nervousness flickering in his eyes. "If you're ready." I straightened. "Go on." He exhaled slowly. "I want to step back from work a little. Not quit, but reprioritize. I've been living like the company was the only thing tying me to the world, and last night made me realize the world is bigger than the job I've been hiding behind." I didn't speak. I just watched him unravel gently. "I want balance," he said. "Real balance. Something steady, something good." He looked directly at me then. "And I want that with you." My breath trembled. "Not because you need rescuing," he added quickly, "and not because I'm trying to rope you into my world, but because when I'm around you, I feel like a more honest version of myself." A smile tugged at my lips. "I like honestly," I whispered. "Well," he said softly, "honestly likes you a lot." I laughed, a weak, watery sound, but real. He squeezed my hand gently. "Come on," he murmured. Let me take you somewhere. I raised an eyebrow. Where? A cafe, he said. Nothing intense, just breakfast, real daylight, real conversation, as us. No disguises, no lies, no fear, just Teniola and Lee. I nodded. The cafe was small and quiet, the kind of place with wooden chairs and plants that looked too healthy to be real. We sat by the window. For the first time in our entire story, Lee didn't hide. No hat, no glasses, no careful slouch. He just sat there in the soft morning light, looking like a man who was finally allowed to exist. "Does this feel strange?" I asked, stirring my tea. "Extremely," he said with a smile. "But good strange." I nodded. "Yeah." A beat of silence passed. Then I surprised myself by reaching for his hand again. He blinked, startled, then threaded our fingers together without hesitation. "Lee," I said softly, "I don't know what this us is going to look like." "Neither do I," he said, "but I want to find out." A warmth bloomed in my chest, steady and new. He tilted his head. "Can I tell you something?" "Always." He leaned in, voice low. "You're the bravest person I've ever met." I swallowed. "Why do you keep saying that?" "Because you keep choosing to live," he murmured, "even when everything tried to make you hide." My breath trembled. Silence settled between us again. But it wasn't empty. It was full, comfortable, hopeful. For once, the future didn't terrify me. It felt like possibility. Weeks passed. We didn't rush. There were no dramatic moves, no sudden declarations, no forced fairy tale leaps. We walked carefully, slowly, building something real. I healed. Lee softened. We grew, individually and together. The messages stopped completely. Police eventually located the stalker. Closure finally found me. But the most important part? I found myself again, too. Through laughter, through safety, through love that didn't demand perfection. And one evening, when the sun dipped low and warm, a little girl at the community center pointed at us and said, "Are you two married?" Lee choked. I nearly dropped a box of crayons. Mira cackled in the background. The girl shrugged. "You look like you're each other's favorite person." Lee glanced at me shyly, and I realized we were. Maybe not married, maybe not defined by labels yet, but we'd chosen each other. In fear, in truth, in hope. And every day that choice felt more like home. If someone had told me months ago that I'd fall in love again, that I'd trust again, that I'd be seen again, I would have laughed, or cried, or walked away. But life has a strange way of finding us when we're hiding. I didn't recognize love at first. Not in the man with the quiet eyes. Not in the smile he tried to hide. Not in the gentle way he touched nothing until I asked him to. Not even in the truth he was scared to share. But I recognized the way he stayed, the way he listened, the way he let me choose every step of the way. And maybe that's what love really is. Not the grand moments, not the wealth, not the dramatic rescues, but the quiet, consistent presence of someone who says, "I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere." And for the first time in years, I believed him. If you enjoyed this story and want more emotional billionaire romance tales like this one, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Your support helps us create more stories that touch your heart and stay with you.